of perfect and infinite stability around which the evolutionary growth of the Supreme progressively unfolds. The function of the Trinity is related to the function of the Supreme, for the Trinity is functional on all total levels, including the level of the function of supremacy. But as the age of Avona gives way to the age of the superuniverses, so does the discernible action of the Trinity as immediate creator give way to the creative acts of the children of the Paradise deities. 6. Relation of the Supreme to the Triodities. The triodity of actuality continues to function directly in the post-Havona epochs. Paradise gravity grasps the basic units of material existence, the spirit gravity of the eternal Sun operates directly upon the fundamental values of spirit existence, and the mind gravity of the conjoint actor unerringly clutches all vital meanings of intellectual existence. But as each stage of creative activity proceeds out through uncharted space, it functions and exists farther and farther removed from direct action by the creative forces and divine personalities of central emplacement, the absolute Isle of Paradise and the infinite deities resident thereon. These successive levels of cosmic existence become, therefore, increasingly dependent upon developments within the three absolute potentialities of infinity. The Supreme Being embraces possibilities for cosmic ministry that are not apparently manifested in the Eternal Sun, the Infinite Spirit, or the non-personal realities of the Isle of Paradise. This statement is made with due regard for the absoluteness of these three basic actualities, but the growth of the Supreme is not only predicated on these actualities of deity and paradise, but is also involved in developments within the deity, universal, and unqualified absolutes. The Supreme not only grows as the creators and creatures of the evolving universes attain to godlikeness, but this finite deity also experiences growth as a result of the creature and creator mastery of the finite possibilities of the grand universe. The motion of the Supreme is twofold, intensively toward paradise and deity, and extensively toward the limitlessness of the absolutes of potential. In the present universe age, this dual motion is revealed in the descending and descending personalities of the grand universe. The Supreme Creator personalities and all their divine associates are reflective of the outward diverging motion of the Supreme, while the ascending pilgrims from the seven superuniverses are indicative of the inward converging trend of supremacy. Always is the finite deity seeking for dual correlation, inward toward paradise and the deities thereof, and outward toward infinity and the absolutes therein. The mighty eruption of the paradise creative divinity, personalizing in the creator sons and powerizing in the power controllers, signifies the vast outsurge of supremacy into the domains of potentiality, while the endless procession of the ascending creatures of the grand universe witnesses the mighty insurge of supremacy toward unity with paradise deity. Human beings have learned that the motion of the invisible may sometimes be discerned by observing its effects on the visible, and we in the universes have long since learned to detect the movements and trends of supremacy by observing the repercussions of such evolutions in the personalities and patterns of the grand universe. Though we are not sure, we believe that, as a finite reflection of paradise deity, the Supreme is engaged in an eternal progression into outer space, but as a qualification of the three absolute potentials of outer space, this Supreme Being is forever seeking for paradise coherence, and these dual motions seem to account for most of the basic activities in the presently organized universes. 7. The nature of the Supreme. In the deity of the Supreme, the Father I Am has achieved relatively complete liberation from the limitations inherent in infinity of status, eternity of being, and absoluteness of nature. But God the Supreme has been freed from all existential limitations only by having become subject to experiential qualifications of universal function. In attaining capacity for experience, the finite God also becomes subject to the necessity therefor. In achieving liberation from eternity, the Almighty encounters the barriers of time, and the Supreme could only know growth and development as a consequence of partiality of existence and incompleteness of nature, non-absoluteness of being. All this must be according to the Father's plan, which has predicated finite progress upon effort, creature achievement upon perseverance, and personality development upon faith. By thus ordaining the experience evolution of the Supreme, the Father has made it possible for finite creatures to exist in the universes and, by experiential progression, sometime to attain the divinity of supremacy. Including the Supreme and even the Ultimate, all reality excepting the unqualified values of the seven absolutes is relative. The fact of supremacy is predicated on paradise power, Son personality, and conjoint action, but the growth of the Supreme is involved in the deity absolute, the unqualified absolute, and the universal absolute. And this synthesizing and unifying deity, God the Supreme, is the personification of the finite shadow cast athwart the grand universe by the infinite unity of the unsearchable nature of the Paradise Father, the first source and center. To the extent that the triodities are directly operative on the finite level, they impinge upon the Supreme, who is the deity focalization and cosmic summation of the finite qualifications of the natures of the absolute actual and the absolute potential. The Paradise Trinity is considered to be the absolute inevitability. The seven Master Spirits are apparently Trinity inevitabilities. The power, mind, spirit, personality actualization of the Supreme must be the evolutionary inevitability. God the Supreme does not appear to have been inevitable in unqualified infinity, but he seems to be on all relativity levels. He is the indispensable focalizer, summarizer, and encompasser of evolutionary experience, effectively unifying the results of this mode of reality perception in his deity nature. And all this he appears to do for the purpose of contributing to the appearance of the inevitable eventuation, the super-experience and super-finite manifestation of God the Ultimate. The Supreme Being cannot be fully appreciated without taking into consideration source, function, and destiny, relationship to the originating Trinity, the universe of activity, and the Trinity Ultimate of immediate destiny. By the process of summating evolutionary experience, the Supreme connects the finite with the absonite, even as the mind of the conjoint actor integrates the divine spirituality of the personal Son with the immutable energies of the Paradise pattern, and as the presence of the universal absolute unifies deity activation with the unqualified reactivity. And this unity must be a revelation of the undetected working of the original unity of the first Father cause and source pattern of all things and all beings. Sponsored by a mighty messenger temporarily sojourning on Urantia.